Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Drew here from Lone Fox, and I'm with a super special sister, James.
Hey kitty girls.
This is James, you all know James. But he just moved into a brand new house, which if you guys have not seen, he has a whole house tour on his channel. It's so good, it's so fresh, it's beefy.
It's really nice and large.
It's nice and
I've been trying to convince Drew to move in, but he won't. So yeah, everybody comment down below and tell Drew that he needs to move into it with me. Oh, hello. Everyone comment down below and tell Drew that he needs to move in with me right now.
I'm here basically every single day, so I essentially already live here, kitty girls. So keep in mind.
Take the guest room.
But James had a couple of DIY projects that he wanted me to do for his bedroom because he showed me this photo and he's like, how do I get this quilt? Like, how do I get this? I was like, let's just make it.
Love a good DIY project, honestly.
It's kind of fun. So James is actually working on a very special project this week, and I'm just at his house. Well, he's not even here. And I'm DIYing things for his room. I think you guys are gonna really like them. We're just going to DIY some stuff for James's bedroom, and I think we should just get started.
Yeah, probably should.
Probably should. Seems good.
Luck, sister.
So the reference photo that James supplied me with is this one from Pinterest. It looks like this. I'll put it on the screen for you guys so you get a better view of what it actually looks like. But he actually has the same exact bed frame. We ordered it from the same photo. Like, we were able to find it online through a couple of links. But he also really wants this quilt on the bed that has different like monochromatic patterns on top of it. So that is what I'm going to attempt to DIY today. I have all the supplies over there. They were actually pretty affordable. It was like $40 for all the fabric, and then I'm using an IKEA comforter, so honestly not too bad for like a handmade quilt. I don't think it's gonna be too hard, but I've also never quilted before, so we'll see exactly how this goes. But I do know that he wants it to be pretty similar to this photo, with the first section, the bottom section, actually being like a lighter color on the left side and a darker color on the right side. So I'm gonna start off with those two sections and then work my way up. So I'm just creating some blocks of patterns using the fabrics that I got, sewing them all together, and then I'm going to, in the end, sew it to the actual comforter itself. And if you guys are curious, this is the Gruz Ballad, whatever that is. So I am placing one of my fabrics in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm starting off with this light polka dot pattern, and I knew I wanted this to be in the bottom left corner based on that reference photo I showed at the beginning. And all I'm doing is doing a tiny little slit where I want it to end, and of course, just ripping the fabric. All you have to do to cut a fabric like this, a simple cotton like quilting fabric, is do a tiny little cut at the start of the fabric, and you could rip it and it will rip in a perfect line, which is so nice because we actually don't have to do any straight cutting or anything. And I'm doing the same thing with this black fabric as well, just creating the second panel that's going to be attached at the bottom. And then next you're going to want to pin the pattern sides together, so make sure the pattern sides are facing each other, and then you're going to use just a couple of sewing pins just to pin them. And I highly do suggest using pins when quilting because it's just gonna hold everything together and make your life so much easier. And then I ran a simple straight stitch across the entire length of that fabric just to conjoin both of those two fabric panels at the bottom together. And that is simply going to create your first paneled section at the bottom of this quilt. And since we're using such large chunks, this quilt goes pretty easy. So next what I'm doing is taking a couple other fabrics, cutting them to size just by simply creating a little cut to initially start and then ripping the rest of the fabric. There really is no rhyme or reason to the placement of your fabrics either. You can really put them wherever you want, but just because I thought it was more pleasing to the eye, I tried to make sure that wherever there was a light fabric, I encompassed it or put around it a dark fabric, just so you can really see the edges. As you can see here, those edges are very prominent. The lights and the darks really make that a prominent feature. So what I'm now doing is just pinning this nice white fabric to the middle section, which is a little bit of a darker one. And then I'm going to go ahead and run this through my sewing machine. And now we're going to have two large strips, which we're going to sew into one big chunk. So I'm going down the entire length of the quilt and pinning it. It makes your life so much easier, I swear, and then sewing down the entire length, which is going to create our first large chunk section of the quilt, which is going to take about half of the quilt. And then I kind of just repeated it for the top section. I just cut squares and pieced them together into sort of like a patchwork shape and sewed them all together. There really are no measurements I can give you because it was so random how I did it, which I think made it so much easier as opposed to measuring. James is looking so fresh now.
Oh,
look, sewed all.
Fresher.
Yeah, and then this one's gonna go on the edge here to give a little long piece.
I love that little long piece on the edge.
Me too, love anything long, honestly.
Oh, yes.
Checking in with a little vlog update. It's about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours after I started, and I finished the entire patchworking of this quilt here, and it's completely done. All I have to do now is actually sew it to the comforter I showed you guys at the beginning. All I did was make sure that the actual like sewn fabric portion was larger than this. That way when I sew it on here, I can just cut off the excess, of course. So that's all I did. There's some random little overhanging edges. But now, all I need to do is sew it to the comforter, and that is the completed quilt. All that I did to actually sew the large quilted panel that we created to the comforter was fold the excess from the quilted panel underneath, and then I pinned it to the comforter. So that way, the excess fabric's kind of sandwiched in between the top panel, which is going to be showing, the pretty side, and then the comforter. So the excess fabric's on the inside of here. So I'm folding it under and then pinning it directly to the edge. And I made sure to use about 200 pins around the whole quilt just to get that edge really, really nice and secure. That way when I go and sew it, I can sew right along the edge as close as I can get it, and it's going to fasten that panel to the actual comforter, but it's also going to look really nice and clean. And yeah, that basically finishes the quilt. I knew I also wanted to create a really fun graphic pillow, so I used a white pillow, some yarn, needles, a pen, and ruler. And I started off by just removing the pillow from the pillowcase, and then I went into just using my pen and ruler to do some dot placements. This is just going to help me when I'm actually sewing the pillow. So how I did mine was made all the stitches that are on the front side that you actually visibly see. They're 3 inches long, and in between is a 1.5 inch gap in both directions. So from the left and the right and the top and the bottom, there's a 1.5 inch gap, and I just mapped that out across the entire pillow. And then what I did was just used a little bit of the yarn and put it through this wide hold needle and just sewed it. So using those reference points, you sew up through the back. I tied a little knot just so that that yarn would not slip through the hole. And then I sewed it down through the next hole, and that is going to create that 3 inch stitch on the front that's going to act sort of as the first line in our line work embroidery pillow. And this pillow was so quick to make. I probably made it in 15 minutes, but I do think it's really graphic and kind of statement at the same time, which I really love. So you're just gonna go in and out of the pillow and just stitch across the entire thing. As you can see here, it's pretty easy, and the stitches are super wide, so it's nothing very complicated at all. And you can mix up the colors if you wanted to. You can totally experiment and do whatever you would like, or even change up the pattern. Maybe use some plus signs or put some lines in the opposite direction, whatever you want to do. Once you are completely finished, all you're going to do is tie off the yarn on the opposite side and then restuff your pillow, and you have your brand new completed decorative throw pillow that is graphic and stunning. Going back to the inspiration photo that I first showed you guys, I think I'm also going to create one of these hanging plants for his room because I think it would look really great just hanging from the actual beam here. So the supplies I used to create that were both an IKEA hanging plant and an IKEA basket, and then some black string and scissors. So what I first started off by doing was cutting 8 1-yard lengths of string. So I cut 8 3-foot pieces of the black string. And then once you have all of those completely cut, you're going to tie a knot at the bottom and then piece them out into 2 strands section. So you're gonna kind of have a plus sign on the top of your little thing here. And then I've done this tutorial multiple times before. So honestly, if you guys, you've probably seen this a couple times on my channel, but I just wanted to put it in here because it did fit with the theme. And what I'm just going to do is just create some knots about 2 inches down from our initial knot on all 4 strands there. And then you're going to split the strands in half after the knot, and you're gonna do the same thing. So you're gonna create knots with the pieces from the left side and the right side. It's kind of hard to talk about. Like, I really don't know how to make it any more simple than what I'm talking about, but you're just going to take 1 strand from the right knot, 1 strand from the left knot, and then create a new knot with them, and then slip your basket in there, and that's how you create it. Hang it up and you are good to go. Look how good and fresh this quilt is. James, how do you like your quilt? So good and fresh.
So good! Oh my god, I love our kitty quilt.
I know, good kitty quilt for you. Made it, handmade, DIY. You guys, and the edge turned out so good. Look at how good this looks.
I love my best friend is the most talented ever.
It literally looks like we bought it.
It really does. I love that. We love scamming.
We really do. My hair literally matches this entire bedding. So guys, that was everything in this little DIY video. I know that the second two projects weren't as involved as the first one, but I really was just going to actually do the first one in this video and only do the quilt. But then I decided just to add the extra two just because I was gonna create them anyway, so I figured I might as well film them and add them in. So I hope you did enjoy the 3 projects that I created in this video. And if you did, definitely give this video a thumbs up and make sure to check out James's channel. He already has his house tour already up, but he hasn't done the finished house tour, so you're gonna be seeing all of this in the finished one whenever that goes up. I'm not sure when. If you'd like to see any more videos with Sister James here on the channel, let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to follow on Instagram at LoneFoxHome, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Have an amazing day. Bye guys.